Hello and welcome to my presentation. My name is Adam O'Connor and I'm going to talk to you today about essential nonverbal communication, body language and emotional intelligence. This topic is one that stood out massively for me during the course and one I was really interested in learning more about. I think the reason was that it applies to everyone, both in our personal lives and in a professional setting, and I'm excited to present this deck to you today. During this deck, I will present to you my interpretation and my takeaways from the subject area of the course I found the most interesting. This will include all of the key areas of nonverbal communication and my key takeaways from this, as well as a short question and answer section at the end. I'd just like to start off with a brief introduction. My name is Adam O'Connor. I currently work as an account manager for Flutter Entertainment, one of the biggest gaming and entertainment companies in the world. This is an exciting role as I work with some of the brightest minds in the industry and I have opportunities every day to learn from the best in the business. I work across multiple teams, mainly commercial and product. I feel that my strengths lie in building relationships with stakeholders. However, one area I felt like I struggled with was presenting my information and communicating what I wanted to say in a more efficient and in a more exciting manner. I will discuss this further in the Q&A at the end of my presentation. On a personal note, my hobbies include most sports, mainly golf. I planned the idea of putting a picture of a golf ball going into the hole, but I feel like this picture here may be more realistic of my current ability. I will now move on to discuss the first element of nonverbal communication, which is body language. Whilst researching more into the topic of body language, I found this quote from Mae West, which reads, "I speak two languages, body and English." I feel like this quote can sum up the importance of body language. Number one, it applies to everyone and something everyone has room to improve on in both their personal and professional life. Since this class, I'm far more conscious of my body language and how I come across. Number two, it is universal. Whilst Mae West speaks two languages, body language is a language spoken by everybody worldwide, whether this is conscious or subconscious. These images here come from Albert Moravian's 73855 Communication Model Study. It shows the importance of body language and how people respond to body language even more so than words and the tone of voice we use. Learning how to apply this rule can help you get the message you want to convey across clearly. When I look at the directors and leadership teams in my company, one thing that stands out is their body language. They're never phased and they're always in control. They're not afraid to pause and think of a well thought out answer, whereas I feel like I rush my answers without thinking and then wonder, have I even answered the question that I was asked? I will now move on to discuss digital body language. One major thing that stood out for me from this class, and an issue I didn't really realise that I had, was how many messages and emails could be misinterpreted and misunderstood. As I mentioned before, I can be working on multiple projects on the go which involve a number of teams. My emails tended to receive unhelpful responses or get no response at all sometimes. It was pointed out that common mistakes when writing emails was unclear messaging. I've now actively worked on keeping my mails shorter and more targeted. This has helped me get more efficient responses, less ignored mails, and overall helped me to be more organized in my role while spending less time waiting on responses. With Zoom, I've worked out on cutting out unnecessary calls, as well as removing people who may not be interested. I simply ask people, do you want to be here or would you prefer an update? This has actively improved participation on calls, as there is no one on the calls who does not want to or does not need to be there. Similarly with Slack, tone can be very easily misinterpreted because of the lack of body language cues in this type of communication. Also, you're not guaranteed a response like you will be on a phone call or a Zoom call. And communication needs to be done correctly here and is an important skill, which I'm trying to improve on. I'll now move on to the topic of emotional intelligence. For me, emotional intelligence means being aware of people's emotions and the vibes they give off and how to react properly to these sometimes subtle clues. Being able to react in the correct manner is a big skill and can give people a boost or support when needed and can really reflect on people's opinions of you. I would say I was very unaware of how I came across in many calls or meetings, and it's something I actively now try and avoid. I try and avoid showing too much emotion, particularly when I disagree. My eyes are always the big giveaway. I've also learned off one of my managers that praising and pointing out other people's good work can foster strong relationships. This can be a simple thank you, adding it onto an email thread with their superiors, particularly if they're struggling. This can be really helpful. This recognition is something I feel about managers and people who have strong emotional intelligence do regularly, and is something I've taken on board. I believe emotional intelligence is not something you can ever complete, but through experience in different situations, you can always improve your personal skills in the area. I will now move on to key takeaways from my presentation topic. For me, the key takeaways included: it is really a relief to know that everyone has the same issues and that we're all in the same boat. Throughout the course, the breakout rooms and discussions have really helped with anxieties that I have had and realizing I'm not alone in my worries here. This is true in terms of both body language and other communication aspects, as well as any general work issues. I've already begun implementing learnings from the course in my professional career. This includes consciously working on my body language, improving the tone of my emails and messages for more effective communication. I think all of these learnings are valuable, and I've tried to implement many already in my career. I've noticed improvements with how I come across through digital body language, in particularly my emails and messaging, and the tone. I've realized that implementing these small changes can really add up over time, and I look forward to continuing to improve my communication skills going forward. I'll now move on to the question and answer segment of my presentation. Question 1. What influenced your choice of presentation topic, and why was it important to you? I chose nonverbal communication as I believe it is something that is used every minute of every day when communicating with people. I found throughout this class that I was so unaware of how I presented myself through body language and how important it really is in both your personal and professional life. It is something I want to improve on, as I can be quite poor at hiding any strong emotions, particularly anger and frustration, as well as disagreement, even when I'm not speaking. I was surprised at how important your body language was, comparing this with words and tone of voice, two things I did feel like I had control of. When I realized over half of your communication and how you come across is through body language, I realized this is something I really need to work on. I want to turn this weakness into a strength, and I will continue to do this. Question 2. What specific learning from the presentation module of the course have you used in this presentation? Why? I've tried to ensure that my presentation has a strong beginning, middle, and end, and a story that both flows and engages and tells my message in an interesting way. I've practiced both the tone and the timing of my presentation, and I've also tried to be aware of my posture and body language, something I generally struggled with. I've learned that text-heavy slides are a poor way of communicating your message, and I've aimed to communicate my message through strong body language, funny memes, and of course, emojis. As you can see here, I'm now relieved that my presentation is over. Finally, I really wanted to say thank you for taking the time to listen to my presentation and for the course, which I really enjoyed. I look forward to implementing new techniques I've learned about my professional and personal life. The engagement and collaborative atmosphere of the class had a really positive impact on the learning experience. It enhanced interest in the topics and brought me out of my comfort zone, which was a great experience and for me led to better learning. Thank you again.